Welcome back, guys. Join me for a cup of coffee here as we try to talk about a myriad of issues today. We're going to talk about some of the news that just took place yesterday and is still going on today. And we're also going to discuss what you see here, some currencies and paper money, which ties directly into what occurred in the news yesterday. So I'm going to have a sip of coffee here and try to go over some things with you. I found an interesting article or two that we can talk about. And if you are bored and not doing anything else and you'd like to participate in this conversation, I'd encourage you to stick around and maybe pause the video, make yourself a cup of coffee, and then come back and join us. So hope we can have a good time, talk about some things. I know some of you guys like this topic as much as I do. For others, this is similar to going to the dentist and having a tooth extraction or a root canal. Or it does seem that way for some people when you try to talk about economics or anything, currency, money supply, the Fed. I mean, you say the Federal Reserve, just those two words to some people, and it's like, good God, what are you? I don't want to talk about anything that remotely similar to that. So, well, you and you're here for a reason. So, let's talk about this, okay? Coffee, so good, and yet getting so expensive. And if you are at this channel and you discuss these things with me, you know that why coffee is rising in price, because it's a commodity, and all of this stuff is being mass-produced paper. So you see my 5,000 won. Got 5 Canadian bucks over here. This interesting little Malaysian note, which has a window in it. Check that. How cool is that? You can like see through the note. Very interesting. Transparent material on there. You've got the $100 trillion from Zimbabwe. This little 500, whatever it is, Afghani note. Probably would not buy you a crippled goat, though. Okay. And the Canadian bucks. Got this 10 rupees from India. And then we got a bunch of these notes. American Federal Reserve. Okay. Well, as you all know, Ben Bernanke yesterday spake unto us, the masses. And in doing so, he stated that basically since what the Fed is doing currently is working so well, and that being the 0% interest rates and the mass printing of currency, basically the $85 billion a month that he's injecting into the system by using his supercomputer. This might look familiar. You guys remember this, the Federal Reserve supercomputer. So right now, if we'll take a look at it, they have the interest rates dialed back to 0 still. They're going to leave that knob there. And they have their magic 8 ball on quantitative easing / money supply on full throttle all the way up to the top. And if you look at the meter, it's on 10, which is ludicrous speed. So they are cranking out money, just cranking it out. And they're going to continue to do so, or thus saith Benjamin Bernanke. So, as expected, I mean, who wouldn't have guessed that gold prices are rising this morning? And they bounced off the top at around 16.15. Currently, I think gold's holding strong at 16.14. Silver's up 42 cents an ounce today, and it's at 29.24. So still on sale, fire sale prices on silver, if you can find a lot of it. And of course, gold, you know, being at 16.14, it's come up from what we saw earlier in the year, which was, you know, the mid 1550s range. But let's take a look at these paper currencies. What's going on? I mean, if he's printing off all this paper, where do you think these are going to go? With 0 interest rates and all this money flooding into the market, would that explain perhaps why the Dow is breaking records? Now, I'm going to ask you, is the economy doing extremely well? And that's why the Dow is showing the numbers that it is. as if it were some magical oracle. I mean, really, if you're unemployed and can't pay your bills, do you personally care if the Dow is at like 15,000, 36,000? Does it matter to you? No. However, it's very obvious that when they lower the interest rates dramatically and print large amounts of currency or inject large amounts of currency into the system, it encourages malinvestment, mass lending, I'd say predatory lending, and just having that amount of currency chasing houses and stock prices. Obviously, if you have an exorbitant amount of currency chasing, for example, let's just pretend this 1,000 won represents 1,000 shares of a certain bank or nation or company, whatever. If you print off an extreme amount of US dollars and they're chasing a fixed amount of these shares to invest, because not only are these at zero interest rate, so no matter where you put your dollars, you're not going to get any yield. And because they're printing them, the value of them is dropping. Everybody knows that. The more you print a currency, the value drops. That's a fact. You cannot argue that. Okay. So now you have to put your dollars somewhere. You're an investor, you're a saver, and you've just been given a large amount of these, and they're dropping in value. So you need to go put them somewhere. Well, the price of this is going to go up because people are competing for that stock or trying to get into it. And obviously they're all investing in it, so the stock price is rising. Stock prices rise when large amounts of currencies are produced. It's not necessarily a healthy or good thing. Everyone acts like the Dow rising is this great thing. Yeah, well, a Dow at record prices right now of 14.5 or whatever it is does not mean it's reflecting the exact same value of the Dow back in 2007 when it was at like 14,200 or something, when it broke a record back then, because that was priced in 2007 dollars. Since 2007, trillions of extra dollars have been produced. Interest rates have been held at zero. There's been massive amounts of expansion in the money supply. Thus, it is not as valuable as it was back then. Are you following me at all, tracking this? I hope you are. Well, we're going to just wrap that up for a moment, because that can take us down a rabbit hole of a complex conversation. But I just want to let you know, and I think a lot of you do agree with me. I can't see the look on your face. I don't know exactly what you're thinking, but try to interject if you will. In summary, my point on that is the more currency you print off, yeah, stock prices might rise, but it does not mean that when you go to sell those shares and exchange them for more currency to go buy something, that the currencies that you get and the amount is going to buy you the same amount of goods and services. Okay. Well, let's go to an interesting article that came out today. It's got some quotations and excerpts from Bloomberg. It's about the Argentinians. In Argentina, the people are starting to really go for gold, literally. When it comes to saving options in Argentina, it's not so much a case of all that glitters is gold, but perhaps the only thing that glitters is gold. That's the quote from the article. They've got galloping inflation in that country. And if you're familiar with the history of Argentina, they've been through rough times before. Some of the very banks that collapsed the United States took part I'm talking about the 2007-2008 banking crash. A lot of those very same names that you're familiar with took part in the Argentinian banking collapse back in the 80s. There's some interesting documentaries you can watch on YouTube. Look up the financial collapse of Argentina, the banking collapse of Argentina, what took place there. Very sad. Oh, good coffee. Price of coffee just keeps going up, but it's so good. Okay, listen to some of these quotes from the article. Okay, so with Argentina printing pesos to finance itself, the amount of pesos in the economy has increased 38% in the past year. leading analysts to anticipate that the currency will depreciate. I'm going to read that part again real quick. Leading analysts to anticipate that the currency will depreciate 12.9% through the year end, the most among currencies tracked by Bloomberg. Basically what they just said is because they're printing off so many of their currency, so much of it, it's going to drop in value approximately 13%. You heard it. Okay. One man was quoted as saying, "I am buying gold every chance I get." Guillermo Acosta, a 27-year-old security guard, said inside a branch of the Banco Cuidad in downtown Buenos Aires. "With this inflation, I feel like my savings will evaporate if I keep them in pesos." That's exactly how you should feel as an American if your savings is being held in dollars. You're ahead of the curve. You're at the front of the pack if you're getting out of these and into this right now. And the more you can do it, the better. The earlier you prepare, the better. Okay. At some stage, very likely before the second mandate of Cristina Fernandez de Kirchner finishes in 2015, the authorities will be forced to choose between two unattractive options, either to spur a strong and sudden adjustment to public finances or to do nothing and expose themselves to strong instability. Well, I think anyone in Argentina knows what they're doing is pretty wise at this point. They don't have a whole lot of options down there, unfortunately. The one benefit that America does have in our financial system is, well, we do have the world's reserve currency, being that in order for other countries to print their currency, they're supposed to buy and hold US dollars. I don't know how often that is enforced, or so it seems. Well, the ex-governor of Cyprus' central bank, said that what we're witnessing is the slow death of the European project. I believe it was Max Kaiser that called this about a year ago. He might be a little off in his timing, but he basically said the euro had 18 months to live. The Eurozone, as we know it. So it's quite evident that the euro is in a mess right now. They're struggling, they're crumbling, and we've discussed here before how the Germans are being forced to kind of hold everything together with their industry, and their wealth. So keep that in mind. Keep looking at it in the news. Alright, what else should we talk about here and read real quickly? Okay. Hold on there. Oh yeah, Australia's facing a massive hit to government revenue. I don't know if you guys have seen that yet, but Australia's going through some issues as well. We do have a fan on here who's got the little Australian flag at times who posts some comments, so this might be interesting to him, and maybe he can add his opinion and maybe some insight, being that he's actually there directly. It says here, this is dated March 17th, and this is on Bloomberg. Australia faces a massive hit to government revenue, pushing the nation further into deficit ahead of an election in September. The national budget fell a further 4.6 billion or 4.8 billion US dollars into deficit in the first 4 weeks of 2013, taking the total shortfall to 26.8 billion for the first 7 months of the financial year, according to Treasury figures released by the government March 15th, just 3 weeks ago. Swan predicted a reduction in revenue would add just 2 billion to the deficit in January. So keep your eye on that, what's going on in Australia. Being they are I'd say a fairly strong player as far as Western economies are concerned, even though they're kind of in the East, but they're somewhat a Western-styled nation as far as governance goes. Well, I think we're going to wrap that up today, unless there's anything else we can talk about. It'd be nice if this was kind of a two-way conversation. I'd like it if we had like a phone line you guys could call in and we could discuss things. It'd be a lot more fun, but we don't have that, so kind of low tech. Anyways, keep strong, keep investing. Next video is going to be on some of my personal opinions on how people can accumulate more wealth in these times and what they can do. So keep your eye on the prize, keep saving, keep stacking, and feel free to comment and take part in the conversation. That wraps it up for today's news. Hope it wasn't too boring for you. And I'd encourage you to keep reading and looking for more information, especially what's going on with the Federal Reserve's decisions as of late and how that might affect currencies, metals, and your investment decisions. Thanks.